Well, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good midnight, wherever you are and located in the world. We are on our Sabbath, so we thank you for joining us. We thank everyone who has chimed in on our videos and who have been longtime listeners and watchers of everything that we have put out. We got a lot of information and a lot, really, if you look at it, a lot's going on in the world, and people are not really paying attention for whatever reason that is. I guess they don't. Some people don't want to know what's happening, and some people just they don't care. So there's going to be a lot of changes and everything happening. So uh, we are here, alive and well once again in Jerusalem, and we thank everyone who has definitely kept us in their prayers and those who are reaching out. And if you have not been able to get a copy of the Be Ye Holy and the Fighting Hell book, please check the email at atlife@yahoo.com and send us a request with your information. Or you can also check the website at www.cheryl, Cheryl Remington, REMINGTON.com, and you'll be able to find some information on the books. We also have them available in audiobooks, so a lot of people don't like to read and they want to listen. And a lot of people don't like to listen and they just want to just get in trouble. So, we're here. We've got a lot of information, a lot of videos that are out. And so as we mentioned last week, we will have this video up for, I think, a week, unless it changes. We will have it up for a week, and then it'll be set on private. So hopefully y'all will get a chance to watch if you're not able to watch tonight. We're starting a little late, not because of me, of course. It's definitely not because of me. I was on time, but we are starting. The prophetess needs a little rest, and that's understandable. Needs your body needs to heal. So when you have years of stress and years of uh, heartache and heartbreak, and just the devil was fighting for years, and so now you're at a point in your journey of life that your body is just like you don't have that no more. So it's trying to heal from the inside out. So y'all just keep her in prayer and all of us in prayer. And we thank you, those who have already been praying, we thank you for your prayers and your concerns. So we are here, and I'm going to turn it over because I have rambled on a little bit too much.
You gave us a minute and a half more than you give us.
Mm,
Hey, Julian, this is a good place for me to also talk about JD's book.
mm,
Uh, I don't normally promote something I don't believe in. So I don't. I don't say anything about it. But my son JD wrote the most powerful book that really addresses today's time. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a proud mother, but I knew he had a tremendous ability for writing and telling what he felt. So he wrote a fictional book. And I'm not going to give you the name, I'll probably mess it up. Stacey can tell me. I think it's The Infamous Tales of J.D. Kilo. Only God knows. But the point is, we're thrilled to have that book also available. They put a website up for him, and he's really excited. But I think the biggest thing that came across to me yesterday, Julian, is the fact of seeing it up on Barnes and Noble. My books are now on Barnes and Noble. They're now going across the globe. It just happened in the last day.
mm.
JD's is going to be, it's already surfacing also in the audiobook form. JD's is in Spanish and English. Mine right now is mostly in both languages, but not in the audio. The reason I'm bringing this up is if you've ever had a loved one who has been on drugs or alcohol, or you've been through chaos undescribable, you really, really, really need to read this book. It's going to give you some insight from an adolescent teen up through the years. It's a trilogy. So book one is being released already. Book two, I think, is supposed to come out the end of May. But these books have a knowledge about what a person thinks and how they go through such turmoil. So I'm thankful that God used my son to bring a remarkable story. And keep in mind, it is fictional. It's based off a character that he knows personally. And I think that this is really helpful for all of you who have loved ones who've been on drugs and alcohol and had a very chaotic life. So, again, I know that Mike can put that across the screen, the name of it, and we'll have it better prepared next time with a picture of the cover. The cover on this book that was written by JD is one that my youngest son drew. And both book covers that are coming out, he drew. So, in honor of his memory, JD wanted to put the picture up, and Mike was the illustrator and did a fabulous job with this. So, I would say we're doing this for your benefit and that they would be a blessing to you. And I also want to take the time to insert this. Yesterday, I received the most beautiful email message or video chat from Judith and her husband, Rick. And wow, it made me so thrilled to see their smile. And she showed me the package she received and how much it meant to her. And I love her spirit. They have such a tremendous, beautiful attitude, both of them. And the fact that they're doing what they're doing to support this ministry because they know we're in a really crazy situation. We're supporting 4 locations or 5 locations right now. And there's just not enough funds to support all that. However, they've been so faithful to support us. And I know you'll be watching this in a little bit. Thank you so much for that beautiful video message. I appreciate both of you and all the others who've responded to the books you've received. There's only been a few that we've sent out that are considered collector's items, and so those will not be duplicated. There's very special. The covers and jackets are different than the rest of them. These are going to special people who've been in our lives, and not that you're not, but some of you haven't been online very long, if at all. And if you're hearing this, you're probably just hearing it for the first time. But there's a couple of things that I want to teach you today that I know is going to impact you. So I keep asking Julian, when is your book going to be ready? And Stacy, when's your book going to be ready? And poor Mike, you haven't been able to hardly stay up to date on yours for helping JD with the edit and illustrations and the language audio books, etc. But I know yours is going to be very powerful too. So there's about 5 other books that's going in under the umbrella of Cheryl Remington. And you will find those books will eventually come up on the website. And you can see they're books that I have approved. Most of them are true life stories of the things they've gone through in this life. You know, we go through things to touch people's lives and to be a benefit and a blessing to. And that's what we really want to do. I know I'm not one who normally would promote a book, but I am on this because I believe in Be Ye Holy. And I believe in the hand of God in our lives. And it's so important that you understand, don't give up. When I was talking with JD before he decided to sit down and write this book, he started in December and finished it in February. He said, I said, son, you've gone through so much. It would be such a great testimony to all of those who struggled through life's issues to see the change that God's made in your life. He reluctantly, after a number of months, sat down and started kicking it out. And when I read one of the final chapters and listened to it, I was just astonished about the message. He doesn't want this to be a victory over doing these things that are wrong, but he wants it to be an eye opener for you to take the right road and to choose the right path and not have to suffer through so many setbacks and heartaches. So every book that's being put out by our group is therefore a message for you, regardless of what life situations you've gone through. So I wanted to really put that out there. And again, I'm going to say, Julian, is yours in the works? I know Stacy's is, but what's your status?
Still work in progress.
People don't realize you actually work a full-time job and you work nights. So last night you work, so you try to rest a couple hours, and then you get up and do service, and so you'll just get a few hours afternoon nap because of your work schedule. So it's really a very complicated situation if you look at it, because you're working, I know, over 40 hours a week. I don't know how it is. I think it alternates. Some days it's way more than 40, and other weeks it's
Yeah.
somehow. Doesn't matter. But Julian, you want to talk to people about today, something I think is very important. And I mentioned it to you. It's the word covet.
Hmm.
Thou shalt not covet. Before we get into that lesson, I do want to bring out a point. Have any of you ever wondered, how do I get closer to God? What do I need to do to walk with Him? This week, while observing a video about a mikvah, which is a spiritual bath that women do every month, or some do in the Jewish faith, but there was a statement in there that I really felt like resonated with me. And they were taking off their jewelry and laying it before they got ready to go into this spiritual bath. And it said they take it off because they want to become connected to the divine. Let that sink in just a moment. I have not worn jewelry in 55 years. And I do on occasion wear a watch, but it's mostly when I'm out and about and needing to know what time it is. At the watch is plastic band. It's not anything that's glitzy. It's just an iWatch. I have another one, but I put that one on because if I fall, then it's going to alert everybody where I'm at, what's going on. But in this statement, I thought, many of you have wondered why I don't wear makeup, I don't wear jewelry. And it is actually this. It's written about in Be Ye Holy. Because you see, when I came to Him in a place of loving Him, I gave it all up. And I can't go into His presence adorned with earrings, necklace, bracelet, and jewelry. So I looked that up, Julian. I looked it up. Is this a common thought? And come to find out, among many religions of the world, around the world, it is believed that when you don't wear the jewelry, that you are connecting to the divine. Now think about this. The powers of hell use the rings, the earrings, the necklaces, the piercings, all as a way of making you in bondage to the powers of hell. Now, there's great spiritual significance to this. Although I'm not going into that in great depth, it is covered in the book Be Ye Holy. So when I see somebody who's wearing earrings or piercings or these types of things, I realize just how ignorant they really are to the things of God. I cannot go before His holy presence adorned with those. The main reason for the adoration of wearing those is because it made it appear as if you were a god or a deity. We find in the book of Exodus that people were told, because they had sinned and made the golden calf, to take off their jewelry, but they were never given the right to put it back on. So I want to let that come through and resonate strong with you. There's a reason. And in the occult, they know that you're ignorant to their power and can mess with your mind and the surrounding situations because you're ignorant of what the devices are, the welcoming tools and signs. These rings and these items mean enslavement. I'm free to serve the God that I love, free to raise my hands unto the purest, holiest one of all. Talaviu tabrikoravoshamadi. Talilo rivanasa. He is a holy God, and I must present myself as holy, acceptable unto Him, that I might glorify His name and do what He's asked me to do. Being who I am in God is a calling that I take very, very seriously, very personal, because you see, I didn't choose my position. God chose it for me. I didn't choose the journey that I went down, but I knew, regardless, I was going to stand for Him. I was going to serve Him in the midst of everything. Though I've lost things naturally, I've started over many a time, I have never lost my love for God. I always just looked up to Him and said, Lord, please give me strength. Please give me strength. I didn't do it for any reward or any, expectation of grandeur and statements. Now, the reason I brought up the jewelry is because it falls into the line that I'm going to teach you about coveting. Now, Julian, I know I sprang this on you like normal, give you a 5-minute notice. Tell me, when you heard about today's topic, what was you thinking about when you go, okay, I've got an hour to, to think about this or pray about it? I know you're such a Johnny on the spot, but tell me what you thought.
All of us pretty much know what that is, and but we really, I know what it means, but I haven't really thought about it, what how it actually affects our life each and every day until I start looking it up. And I was like, it affects us each and every day because we like when you were talking about the jewelry. How many women, they get the engagement ring, whatever, they go to their friends and look how much, how big my rock is, and all stuff like that. They make other people covet that, that you got that, and the bigger the better, supposedly. And how much actually we're bombarded each and every day with like advertisements about this what you should wear, this what you should buy, this what you should obtain, stuff like that. And by doing that, it affects our mental state also because some of the stuff, we can't afford certain things. And so us longing for those things or making us cover those things and that we can't afford, we go into like a depression state or emotional state that we can't achieve what we want to achieve because not something that you already thought about until it was presented to you. So each and every day, I mean, they're doing that for us to consume.
That's so true. You made the statement about engagement ring. When Rob and I got married, we didn't have rings, and our pastors back then didn't believe in them. And then I got pregnant my wedding night. And of course, everybody at that time, it was very uncommon for a person to not be married and be pregnant. So I kept telling Robbie, I just wish I had a ring so everybody would know that I'm married and I'm not just pregnant with child and not in committed marriage. So eventually he actually did buy me a ring, and I can remember I must have had it just for, it seemed like a few months. It was quite a bit after the birth of my first son. And I can remember going to church and Julie, when we raise our hands unto the Lord and we praise him. And I can remember making sure that that hand that had that beautiful marquee diamond on it, it wasn't really elaborate and expensive, but it was unique, was up for everybody to see when I worshiped God, that marquee diamond was, look at me, I got a wedding ring on, I'm married, and I think by this time I'd had my second child. And I can remember being so convicted in church that my motive really was revealed in a church service. Not that the preacher preached about it, but I can remember looking up and seeing that ring on my finger. And although it was only a couple of months that I had it before it vanished, and I'm not getting into that story at this moment, but I thought my objection to it was my focus was not on God, it was on that which was on my hand. When we feel like we've got to be identified by the jewelry that we wear, to me, that's making a statement of pride, a statement of arrogance. Look at me. I can afford this or I can do that. And even my clothing, I watch very carefully what I purchase to make sure it doesn't give the implication of something elaborate, which I wouldn't buy anyway, even if I had the money. I can't see that. I can't see the women who are putting these expensive clothing on and wearing them a few times and then not wearing them again. My clothing covers over 20 years of my life, and it goes from different sizes. So whatever size I am at that time frame, I can go in and pick it out by size practically. But you see, when we let our identity be associated with what we possess, we've really lost the focus. How do you show the world that God is in your life? How do you show the world that you're different? It's not necessarily about what I don't wear, but it is about my attitude. I lived in Mexico off and on for since 2000, probably 7, not whatever it was. And didn't wear jewelry back then either. But I would look at those who were less fortunate, and I would see my mother had all types of jewelry she wore when she first went to Mexico. And all it did was make her a target for the thief. Eventually, I said to her, Mom, you might not want to wear that anymore because they're seeing an elderly woman with all these diamonds and all this jewelry on, and they could very easily harm you, and just for what you're wearing. And many people have been killed over items that they possess. Think about the drug addict, the alcoholic who's got to have what they're feeding, smoking. They do anything and everything to obtain that, including stealing your valuables. Imagine somebody walking into my house. The only thing they're going to see of any value is the video equipment that we've bought over the years. And they're going to go, what? No jewelry, no money, no, what are we going to be able to pawn? What are we going to be able to sell? So these things that we possess, are they more important than our relationship with God? Possession, coveting, wanting what you cannot afford. And even if you could afford it, why would you want to spend your money on that? When they think about where those jewels come from and the process of mining and bringing them up out of the earth, you don't really realize how much is spent lives and thievery and hijacking for those items of pure stone. When it's spoken in the book of Exodus about removing the jewelry, nowhere in the scripture did it ever say to put it back on again. So when I came into Jerusalem and to Israel, I thought that I was going to see a holy people. I thought I was going to see a people that were dedicated unto God and that were dressed predominantly like I do. Now, there are a large group of women that do wear dresses, so that made shopping really easy. And they're very nice in length. They're not short things. Again, depends on where you buy it from. But at least we had that option here. But I can't say that I look at any person and go, man, I wish I had that. Or wow, I'd really like to have that. This covetous attitude brings you into an ideology of stealing, of doing everything within your power to obtain it. Trickery, deceit, arrogance. Think about it. When you're out with your jewels on, do you not feel a little more prideful and arrogant? Hello, do we not? I don't know about anybody else, but as for me, I want to stay as close to Him as I possibly can. I love His presence. I love His goodness. I love His mercy. I'm not here for show, for class, or show and tell. I'm here because I love the Lord. And this is what I feel to do, is teach you the truth. Are we seeing covetous attitudes universal all over our world? The answer is absolutely and yes. With this covetous attitude comes a spirit of pride, elevation, superiority. We cannot have that attitude and call ourselves of the Lord. We allow ourselves to be all decked up with all of the makeup and the jewelry and the tight pants and the sex appeal. What are you sex appealing to? If you're committed to a man, the only one that you should be appealing to is that man. But when that man wants you to go out and look all dolled up, what's his real motive? Is it the fact that he wants you to be a jewel on his arm? A trinket in his trinket box? What is the real reason? Oh, I feel like I have to have a little makeup. Hey, FYI, newsflash, makeup ages you very bad. And you can't get enough Botox poison in your face to get rid of all the wrinkles and the inkles that you've got in your body, because you keep slapping it on there, and that penetrates the layer of your skin that actually becomes diseased, poisoned, and aged. I haven't worn makeup since before I came to the Lord, and then I didn't wear much. My mother did. People find it astonishing. In just a couple of months, I will be 70 years old. I see wrinkles. I see my aging, but that's okay because I'm going to age with grace and I'm going to age with dignity. Those are 70 years that I've survived on this earth, 70 years in which I am so thankful for that I have been allowed to know him 55 of those years. So when you're talking about making a dedication to God, let's start at the basics. Thou shalt not covet. Don't covet your car, someone's car, their wife. Oh, I wish my wife was like them. Enjoy the beauty of the relationship that you have. Great, small. Maybe they don't have your personality. Maybe you couldn't handle them if they did. Can be quite a challenge. But don't covet. Now, I'm going to bring out some very critical things, and then I'm going to show you how this is being violated in a second way. Thou shalt not steal. Now, this next part you're going to find very interesting because the other day, whenever I was in prayer, the Lord spoke to me and he said, Trump breaks 2 more of my commandments. Thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not steal. And this was before, not quite 24 hours later, there was a video that was released online, and you can look it up. Look it up under Trump Gaza. And it showed how Trump intends to come into Gaza and remove all the Palestinians and level the property to make it a oasis paradise, a Mediterranean paradise. What? So during this war, Kushner and Ivanka, the children of Trump, flew over here with another person, I believe it was Elon Musk, correct me if I'm wrong, Julian or Stacy, to see the war zone. Now, at that point, I remember the Lord speaking to me and saying, their purpose is not genuine. They're not concerned about the people. They're concerned about future investments. Now, this has been way months and months ago. So when the Lord spoke to me a couple of days ago and said that Trump violates 2 more of his computers, I know he violates all 10 of them. So he's definitely not the person that you think he is. Know a person by their attributes. Now, we saw this, the video showing that Trump's a statue of him in gold, and he's the ruler of his Gaza, the Mediterranean paradise. And I thought how wicked and how evil, how vile that this man would take this horrific situation and glorify an area for his benefit. Because if you're an American citizen, I can reassure you, you're not going to benefit from it. And you don't want to. You don't want to benefit from somebody else's sin. And then the Lord, when he spoke to me that he steals, he said he will use armament to come in. Listen to this. And take Gaza by force. I just read an article, I think it was this morning, and it said the military armament that's being sent in, including armor-bearing bulldozers to flatten Gaza. Tavru Dori Chava. The person who does this be cursed. Tovri Kave Hora Shakendo. You cannot come in and somebody's demise and build your kingdom and your attributes and say it's for the American people. America, I'm speaking specifically to you who are of the United States of America, whether you're a natural born citizen or you're immigrant or whatever the case might be. Do not glory in a man's sin. Don't be a part of it. These people, 46,000 people were lost on the Palestinian side. You don't hear about those, do you? You just keep hearing about that small number that was taken on October 7th. But did they tell you that most of those were worshiping the demons of hell? Did they tell you that? Did they tell you they were having sex outside of marriage? They were drinking, they were partying, that they were giving themselves over to every vile situation there was, even erecting other gods. Pelo Covet todo yabana. We should never, ever ilo shibivot kiviondolokia honor something that despised God. Torifana shana lorikapa. Did they ever tell you that those that came in, Hamas was high on Captagon, and that all of this was powers of hell? Can you not see the little seeds of hell's demise for the region? Can you not see that? Come on, let's just put a whole break on something. If the Jewish people alone were God's only chosen people, we're in trouble. It's like my dear friend Catherine said yesterday, God might as well wipe it all out and start over, get another flood or burn this up in fervent heat, because this is not repairable in its same existence. Without God, nothing is going to change. But God is going to make sure he receives the glory and the honor. When I heard about this at Gaza, the thought about the Ukraine kept coming back into my mind. Why did the United States, or why did Russia come after Ukraine? Yesterday again, my friend Catherine brought up the fact about the raw minerals. So I looked it up. Anything somebody tells me, I want to look it up and see the validity. She said, Ukraine has something that America needs. Let that sink in a minute. People are dying. And our president, or your president, is trying to make an agreement with Zelensky using raw minerals versus lives as a reason that we would support this country that's been pulverized repeatedly by Putin? Where is the humanitarian? Where is the person that says this is an injustice? But no, instead, he wants Zelensky to make an agreement where we receive the raw minerals, which is the material used for all of the computer conductors and electronics. You mean to tell me we don't have any scientists available that could create something that's even more powerful and better than going to another land and stealing their raw minerals under the disguise that will protect you if you should protect them because they're part of God's people. They're his humanity. That's why you should protect them, not because of what you can obtain. I don't care about the fact you're a business deal. You're a man sent from hell to deceive the masses. That's who you are. And I am appalled of any leader that hasn't got the backbone to stand up such a vile, wicked man. I knew he was going to become president because I knew it had to happen for God to bring about this last leg of what God is doing. I knew that. So, yes, I was looking to see if it went just exactly as I had seen, and it did, and it has. How dare you curse God by approving such action? How dare you spit in the face of God by not caring about humanity? I said this and I'm going to say it again. Trump, if you get this message, get it loud and clear. I'm coming against you. First of all, if you were so serious about the war on drugs, why don't you go where it's manufactured? Fentanyl is made in China and Mexico. Your attack on Mexico is not warranted because they have people that will bring up the drugs to the United States. But let me tell you this, if you had an education system that revealed what these drugs, these alcohol, and these poisons do to you, I believe you would have far less people getting involved in it and would not be addicted. But no, you make money on the side. Is the reason you became president was so that you could become even wealthier? You love your gold and your glistings of things. Be cursed of God, you evil man. We cannot stand by idly and pretend that we don't know. For us not to be informed, we are playing up to ignorance to the highest degree. Coveting to the point of stealing from other countries. If you were such a humanitarian and you cared about peace, then why don't you address the real issues? No, the leaders of many countries care about their bottom dollar, their money. I was listening to an excerpt from the Zelensky-Trump meeting, and one of the reporters had the litigated audacity to ask President Zelensky why he doesn't wear a suit. Now, this shows you the condescending behavior. And I do appreciate what President Zelensky said. I don't need to know who I am and to fight. He said, do you not own a suit? He goes, oh, I own them. But you see, Zelensky is on the battlefield with the people. He's not sitting in some fine, protected environment. He's been known to be out there fighting with the rest of them. And all Zelensky wanted to know was the safety of his people. And he said, we can't make a deal without the security because Putin has broke something between 23 and 25 agreements with us before and with other countries. We don't trust him. So we can't look at what Zelensky's about and how he stands for the people of Ukraine. I don't know. There's many other parts about his personality I'm not aware of. I do know that he's Jewish, and I do know that he is in the midst of the battle. But we're going to hold safety to humanity at gunpoint by saying, give us or we won't give you. How dare you approach with such insolence, with such disgust, and don't even tell me what church you go to, because you don't. You don't know God. You keep the commandments of God if you know him. You walk upright before him if you serve him. But don't you declare you're something that you're not. You will come against the country. And countries, there's billionaires all across the world. And we can't provide an education system for those who need one that really works. I'm not talking about what we have in the United States. That's a joke. But one that really works. I challenge you. I watched as J.D. Vance began to dress down Zelensky because he didn't say thank you. But if you listen to the beginning of that statement, he did say thank you. But he began to dress him down because he was coming up against Trump. Come on, dude, dress me down. Because I could see at the whole part of it, you were not even listening. You're that ignorant. You wanted to dominate the control of the topic. You want everybody to look at this man as being invincible. Invincible. He is not. He is a man. There is one far greater. Far greater, and that is my God. For clarification, before I ask Julian his opinion, I'm pretty sure you have one at this point. The word Allah is another word for God in the Islamic faith. Julian shared with me last Saturday after church or after class how that the viewpoint of Allah and the Muslim, and I read it, and it's exactly how I see God. JD said to me, my son, he said, would they not have the same basic foundation since Abraham was their father, that they would believe along the same line? But somewhere in the scenario, everything got changed. And the system got changed for what we're seeing today in the Middle East and in this world. We fight over water, but we have oceans full of water. And we can't come up with a purification system that others can benefit from those resources without concern of disease. I live in an area when I'm in Mexico that's on the lakeside. And it's a very poor region. There's one section that's pretty wealthy, but for the most part, we live in the poor section of town. And this major body of water, and the water that's taken is taken from the people to put in the berry fields. That they pay these people just a stipend of money to pick all these strawberries, even avocados, etc. And we see them ship them to the United States, and they'll get, I don't know now what they would get, but used to be $5 and $6 for just a small container. But the hours that went in to pick those strawberries and the money they received kept them on poverty level. You care about who? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You care about what? Oh, I see. Your almighty is the dollar, is a financial benefit. Mine is the one who owns it all. My allegiance is to him. So, to recap, stop and remind yourself with God and his purpose, not because of what you benefit. There's no money value on that. It's so great. There's nothing you could give me. I don't care about your billions. I don't care about your luxury. I don't care about how you flaunt your money to the poor and the arrogance that you hold. I care about real and being real with God. Julian, would you like to say something?
You know, you will never miss what you never had. And that one day I was thinking about that because if you never have anything, if you never seen anything, you wouldn't think twice. You wouldn't think about it because you never seen it, or it never came into your mind until you see it, until it's presented to you. Then you start thinking about it. Each and every day, like I said before, we're shown what to strive for. And that's coveting because whenever you see somebody that came up with a new fashion, new fad, whatever we call it, you want to do it. You want to dress like that person. You want to emulate that person. Why? Because you've seen it. Before that, you weren't even thinking about it. Here in the United States, for people that don't know this, ever since you can remember, they try to sell you what's so-called the American dream. The American dream entails that you are not successful until you have achieved those things that comes with the American dream, which is you get a house, the 2 cars, and the dog. That's the American dream. And until you achieve those things, you're a failure. You're a failure until you achieve those things. So you've been sold that from day one, that you need to strive for that. You need to achieve for that. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people fall for that. One day when I was younger, I had that mentality on. I was thinking that way. And one day I was on the road and I stopped at a stoplight. And that day I was thinking about something about financial stuff like that I wanted to buy this or stuff like that. But when I stopped at that stop sign, the stoplight, I looked beside me and there was a car beside me. And at that time I was driving a new truck. But along with that truck, obviously, the new truck, the responsibility of paying for it and being in debt. Okay, so I'm at this stoplight and I look beside me, and there's this car. This is an older car, and I look at the people inside it. There's a couple inside the car. There's a older man, like around his 40s, and then they had a lady on the back. I'm assuming he was his wife. They had a kid. She had a kid with her on the back seat. And so I'm looking at the interaction they had, and they were laughing. They were talking. They were laughing. I mean, they were like real happy. They seemed real happy. And it just became ingrained in my mind that that's what's important. not trying to achieve this thing in the work, like I said, because at that time I was thinking about it because I had the truck payment and all that stuff like that, and I was like, I got it all wrong. I got it all wrong, and that image has stayed with me for ever since I saw it. It stayed with me because that's what's important. You know, as long as your family is happy and you're living for God, that's it. The rest doesn't matter. But like I say, you have to be careful because each and every day you're being sold on what to covet because a lot of new stuff's coming out. So you want the newest things. Like I say, if you never have, you have never seen it, you wouldn't want it until it's presented to you. So watch out for that.
Very wise input. I have believed for many years, that trinkets, items will fade. We put too much value on the bondage of paying for it. I've been in my house for 25 years and I'm only halfway finished paying for it. 25 years of payments of bondage. And the house only cost me $99,000. They're getting, because of this thing in Israel, to have to reestablish the payment. It'll probably be set for another 30 years. That's not freedom. That's bondage. Where the RV that I inherited from my mom, she paid $50,000 for it, enjoyed it while she was alive, and then I became the inheritance of it. I'm not paying on that monthly note and paying for parking the space where the RV's parked. But all in all, it's paid for. Now, if I'm in bondage to where I can't lose my job, or I can't be sick, or I have to make this money, and I begin to get behind in the payments, they're going to take it from me. No matter how much I put in, that won't matter. It's how much you have left. Now, that to me is sad. Even when my house is completely paid off, I'm in an area of a neighborhood that has an association, and that association can take my house from me if I don't pay an annual fee for that. Is that not scary? You're not secure in anything. So why get bogged down to the luxuries and the fine arts and all this kind of stuff? Just stuff. We were very poor when I was younger. When I was 12 years old, my dad had gone to school about 2 years prior, and he became a pilot. And he wanted to be a jet pilot for El Paso Natural Gas really bad. And he resubmitted and resubmitted and resubmitted constantly to get the job. Most of the time, he didn't have enough hours in flight, so he would go and teach some more, and he would submit again. I don't know how many times he submitted an application, but finally, my dad did receive an offer to go to El Paso and work for El Paso Natural Gas as a corporate jet pilot. So we went from very, very modest experience to now my dad is got money coming in like crazy. He was able to create and put together a construction company. He bought several beauty salons for my mother. He had quite a conglomerate portfolio that was coming together. But there was no happiness in the house. There was no contentment. It was always obtain, obtain, obtain. And I remember at one point when we went to a party that my parents was invited to, and the three of us, my two brothers and myself, were required to go, and it was in an upper scale part of town. And I remember looking at all the glitz and glamour and thinking, you're so phony. All you have is what you're flashing out. And I would listen to parts of the conversation, and I realized they had nothing. And I had just started serving the Lord. Didn't know how to serve him very well, but I was doing the very best I could. But the one thing I had was peace of mind. And the one thing I had that was more valuable than that was to know that I belonged to the Lord. So from that early age till now, I've had very little interest in anything that others might say is a wow factor. We don't need that. We need God. I hope today you'll take a look at coveting and stealing. When you covet things to the point you steal the time from your family and your loved ones, and your attitude is an atrocity because you're pushing so much for perfection that you lose the real sight of life. Laugh through some of the things. Why get all spaced out and worked up when it's just about your perception of pride? I'm thankful that God has made me who I am and brought me down the road I've been down, because I know what it's like to live with things and without. But I'm more happier living for God than anything in this world. I hope you've learned something about coveting, stealing, more importantly, about making a relationship with God that's so strong that it cannot be taken from you, just as the natural things can. No man can take your walk with God. Your walk with God is a relationship between you and Him. I shared this with Julian right before we went to live. And yeah, I had slept, and it was about 20 minutes before we were to go live, and I was still trying to shake myself. But I was upset because as I've aged, I'm more susceptible to the cold. And I went out on the balcony, and had my hands raised to worship God, and couldn't stay out there long before I started freezing to death. It was only like in the 50s, but there was a wind of about 18 miles an hour. And I felt so devastated. Like, you mean I can't take a little cold to do what God sent me here for? So I sat down and I tried there, and the door was open and it was still so cold. So I went and sat under the heater in the living room. And I went to bed. I said to the Lord, what is wrong with me? You're in control. You control the atmosphere. You know the adjustments of the temperatures. And here I am thinking that I can change what you have. Lord, help me to just submit to you every day of my life and do my best. And that's what I'm going to admonish you in closing. Do your best to serve God. Stay ever close to Him, and He will always stay close to you. And here's a word of wisdom to you. If you don't want Satan knocking on your door, remove the gateways from your life. Remove the items that would invite him. Because if you do, he's not likely to come around. He may find that you're a threat because you have knowledge. Thank you for listening to us. That's all I've got to say. If either Stacy or Julian want to contribute something, please go ahead and do so.
Well, we thank you for joining us and, staying in touch with us. Powerful message today. And, we need to definitely keep aware and be aware of what's happening. They say know your enemy. there's a lot of enemies in some books. So, but we thank God for His presence coming in, and we just appreciate everyone who's joined. Please click the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. And also in the comments and in the description, there's also links about the articles that she had mentioned earlier today. So, Shabbat Shalom. God bless.